All right, so today we're covering sustainable business models and integrating them to meet environmental and social responsibility. Every company in today's society has responsibilities, not only to the environment, but socially. What do we mean by socially? They have responsibilities to the people in the community or the country that buy from them. They also have to show that they are responsible environmentally because today's customer is very environmentally conscious. Okay, so what we're going to talk about is what is ESG. ESG is environmental, social governance. I repeat, environmental, social governance. Does anybody know what I mean by that? Does anybody know what I mean by environmental and social governance? Who would like to share with me? Does anyone know? What about you, Guillermo? Can you share with me? What do you think it means? Go ahead, don't be shy. What do you think it means, Guillermo?
I think, yes. Can you hear me? I'm audible.
Yes, I can. What do you think it means?
Uh, I think it's much more on in environmental,
Right.
maybe it comes from environmental for this aspects, like for example, what we can do for the environment regards in the business.
Very good. You're on the
Because
right
it's
track. Very good, Guillermo. You're on
yeah.
the right track. You're on the right track. Very good. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. I'll talk to you shortly. Okay, let's go to another student who's raised her hand. Where are we? Uh, Takasugi Marites. Hi, Takasugi. How are you today? What do you think it means? Go ahead.
Hello, good
Hi, how are
afternoon.
you?
Yes, environmental sustainability. The business protects nature and reduce the environment damage.
All right. So businesses have to be careful not to put out an image that they're causing damage to the environment. Is that what you're saying? Okay, you're on the right track. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Good stuff. Okay, so everybody here understands what I mean by environmental factors. Do we all understand that? Yes or no? Okay, great. Who else could tell me what does environmental factors mean? Can you give me an example of environmental factors, Eugenia? Hi, Eugenia. Hi, nice to see you. Open your microphone. Give me an example of environmental factors, Eugenia. Open your microphone. Your
Hello,
microphone is
sir.
muted.
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry.
Hi.
I'm not really feeling well, so I'm not really.
It's okay. I want to make you better, so I want you to talk a bit so you feel a little bit better. What do you think environmental factors mean? Just a quick one.
Just like I'm not really.
Okay, you
I'm,
try.
I'm
No worries.
sorry.
Hopefully
I'm
by the
sorry.
end of today's session, you'll learn.
I'm not just like
Focus
unloading
on the
my mind.
lesson and focus on the lesson, and I hope you get better soon. I'll talk to you
Yeah,
soon.
thank you
Thank
so
you,
much, sir. I'm
gorgeous.
really sorry.
All right. So let's go on, ladies and gentlemen. What does environmental and social governance mean? Well, environmental and social governance are very important in today's business world because, as you know, businesses all around the world have a reputation. Brands are built on reputation. Apple is built on being a technologically advanced phone compared to other phones. Apple has better encryption, it has better camera, it has better communication, it offers better resolution, it has more sophisticated fonts for Apple users. So Apple relies on its technological reputation for a brand. Also, Apple relies on leaving an environmental and social footprint. And you learn about that later on in the way they recycle parts. So, let's go on and talk about ESG as it's known in more detail. So what is ESG? Can you see my slide, Irene? Very good. Excellent. Can you see my slide, Eugenia? All right, hold on, Eugenia. Let's fix this. Hold on. Can you see my slide now, Eugenia? All right, it was there. I'm not sure what happened there. Okay. All right. So what is ESG? Well, ESG, guys, is basically a framework that helps shareholders understand how an organization manages its risk. So it's basically a formula that has evolved over the years and focused on being able to deliver the brand's message on things that may affect health and safety, things that reduce pollution, and illustrate a company's commitment to corporate philanthropy. What do we mean by corporate philanthropy? It means that the company has a habit of contributing back to society. For example, it's concerned about the environment. It's concerned about saving the planet. All of this is corporate philanthropy. Corporate philanthropy also basically comes down to them contributing money or donating money in order to ensure environmental factors or the environment is protected. So since the evolution of environmental and social governance, companies all around the world are now much more concerned about their brand, and they allocate capital each year in order to be able to manage ESG. If we talk about environmental social governance, this is something that is playing a big role now in all industries. In all industries. It's playing a big role in all industries. Can you see my screen, Eugenia? Okay, so environmental factors refer to an organization's environmental impact on the world with its products and the way it manages the risk of environmental damage. Now, you go into McDonald's, they don't give out plastic straws like they used to. Now, they only give a straw out if you get your product delivered, not if you're in store. Supermarkets no longer give you free plastic bags because they're trying to protect the environment and the ozone layer. They make you pay for a permanent bag or pay for your plastic bag. Now, environmental protection is focused on things like greenhouse gas emissions, okay, management of natural resources, and resilience against physical climate risk, like climate change, flooding, and fires. So by being able to control all these certain events, they are working towards protecting the environment. So being aware of environmental issues and how to govern environmental issues has become a big responsibility for companies. The second one, Eugenia, is social. Social, okay? What do we mean by social? The social pillars of a company, any company, refers to their relationships with their customers who are stakeholders and any other people involved in their business. A hallmark of this environment and social governance process or policy is how impact or how people feel about how do people react to your company's brand when they talk about environmental issues or social issues? And where does the governance come in? You might be asking me, okay, we understand environment, we understand social, meaning integrating with the community around us and respecting their wants and the things we need to do for them to protect their environment. But where does governance come in? What does governance have to do with this? Well, guys, corporate governance refers to the process by which a company or a business manages environmental and social issues. If you understand environmental issues and their impact, you understand their impact on the community around you and what the impact of you not doing the right thing by environment might have on this community around you, the social people around you, then that is an issue. All right, so it's really important that the leadership of a company understands what incentives are in it for the company if they respect environmental and social issues. And companies now spend a lot of effort in making sure they have environmental and social policies in place to protect their own brands. So how did this concept of ESG come about? How did it come about? What brought it about? Why are we talking about it today? Well, the ESG lens basically is a way for companies to manage risks or opportunities that can happen due to changing conditions or shifts in environmental, economic, and social systems. Today's customer is a lot more environmentally conscious about what he or she buys than they were 10 years ago. EHS, environmental health and safety, are very important because as far back as the 1980s, Eugenia, organizations in the United States were asking themselves how to use regulation to reduce pollution. Not only pollution, anything that was negative to the environment or to the society. Well, their plans were answered. That's why this governance process came into place. Okay, so why did it come into place? Well, its evolution tells us. Can you see my screen, Eugenia, please? Thank you. All right. The history tells us that the reason it came in, the evolution was back from the 1990s, is basically it wanted to put into place a process for corporate sustainability. It wanted to guide companies and help companies to be able to sustain themselves in the business world, corporate sustainability. But in order to do that, companies had to also be able to meet environmental and social issues in order to remain sustainable in no matter what product they sell or what industry they're in. Corporate and social responsibility by the early 2000s has become a major factor for any brand, whether we talk about Apple, Microsoft, Coca-Cola, or PepsiCo. They are very concerned about their image in environmental sectors and also as far as the way they govern or their governance over environmental controls. Remember, corporate philanthropy is a key for companies to show that they are concerned and they do have ESG in place. By them contributing money or donating money to causes that will help control environmental and social governance and maintain it, they are already practicing corporate philanthropy. Does everybody understand what I mean by corporate philanthropy? Can you put up your hands? Yes or no? Philanthropy means a company being able to put money aside to help people or donate to different causes. Does everybody understand what I mean by philanthropy? Yes or no? Put your hands up, please. Come on. Fantastic. Switch on your camera, please, Davana. Switch on your camera unless you're at work, please. Okay, so when we talk about corporate sustainability, companies these days, if they don't meet customer mindsets, customers are very, very environmentally focused and expect the brands they buy to be environmentally focused. Anything like this, if a company ignores ESG responsibilities, companies have put themselves at risk of damaging their brand. Corporate and social responsibility, as I said, is critical. By the early 2000s, it became something that is a lot more talked about in society. Today, children at school at the age of 10 or 12 are taught about what society expects of them and how they should behave. They're taught about the environment and what is good and bad for the environment. So, can you see my diagram, everyone? Can everybody see my diagram? Fantastic. Let me go through this diagram. This diagram talks about the modern evolution of ESG. Let's talk about the timeline. Let's start at the beginning in the 1970s. Protests against the Vietnam War catalyzed shareholder regulations against the production of napalm and Agent Orange, okay? Back in the 70s. By 1971, World launched the first socially responsible mutual fund in the United States. By 1977, the famous Reverend Leon Sullivan, Minister of Civil Rights and leader and board member of the General Motors Company in the US, established the Sullivan Principles to promote corporate social responsibility and anti-racial segregation. And he was a philanthropist. He gave to society to fix these problems. By 1989, anti-apartheid movement. Okay, anti-apartheid movements were fueled. Divestment shareholders, activism, and corporate action towards anti-apartheidism. Okay, if we go down to 1989, the Exxon Valdez oil spills and spurs conditions, or a coalition for environmental responsibility, because the Exxon Valdez caused or put the world at environmental risk with the amount of crude oil that came out of the Exxon Valdez. So as a result of that, there was a coalition or group of countries who became a lot more environmentally responsible, and they basically formed together and called themselves the Coalition for Environmentally Responsible Economics, CRES, the Coalition for Environmentally Responsible Economies, to promote basic environmental disclosures and to be transparent. They wanted companies to be responsible, to tell the world if they have an environmental spill, like the Exxon Valdez. As you can see through this timeline, by 2021, momentum for U.S. sustainable investing regulations begin, the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, requests comments on climate-related financial disclosures for companies. So what they asked in the US now, every company has to report to government how much they spend in order to protect the environment and the climate, depending on the products they sell or the process or manufacturing process they operate. So as you can see from this timeline, the history of developing sustainable environments, both environmentally and socially, have grown more seriously over the years. Okay, so we can say that through the mechanism of environmental and social governance, the United Nations in 2004 found out about it, okay? But it was not until 2010 and into 2020s that this environmental social governance process emerged as a much more proactive instead of reactive movement. Because when it was first introduced to the United Nations, it was still a new concept. But now more than ever, it's a very strong practiced philosophy. Okay, so ESG now, environmental social governance, has evolved into a comprehensive framework, key elements about the environment and social impact, as well as how governance structures can be put in place to ensure that ESG is maintained. So when we talk about this, and when we talk about philanthropy, can everybody see my screen about investing and ESG funds? Okay. When we talk about philanthropy is part of the corporate world's investment in protecting the environment and society. Okay, so the capital markets out in the world are also a powerful tool, and they are what we call a motivator to businesses to practice environmental and social governance. By restricting access to capital or making the terms under which it's available less favorable, people who don't implement ESG then might find themselves unable to get more capital. Environmental social governance investment vehicles have managed and emerged, including green bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, and index funds, amongst others. These are public instruments, guys, that people can use, and these are what we call environmentally and socially acceptable and friendly. Okay, so when we talk about this, we talk about what people's perceptions are of environmental protection. What are they? People today are scared of where our environment might end. People are very much concerned about environmental factors, whether it's what they buy or how they buy it or what it's made from. So what is an ESG specialist who helps his or her company maintain ESG? Very simple. An ESG specialist, environmental social governance specialist, can mean a number of things. But in general, this is someone who works in a company with very strong analytical skills and a comprehensive understanding of what ESG means and how it relates to the risks it can cause a company and or opportunities. So they are specialists. They understand what environmental and social issues are, and they work on analyzing them and reporting them both to companies and to society so people know what steps they have to take. All right, so now that we've covered that, we're going to talk about the next big thing related to environmental and social governance. And this is what we call the circular economy. Because remember, when you're protecting the environment, that requires certain things to happen. You must have a sustainable process of how you're going to protect the environment. How are you going to do it? What are the steps that you're going to implement to protect the environment? So the circular economy is an approach to production and consumption that emphasizes useful life of products, materials through practices such as leasing, reusing, repairing, refurbishing, or recycling. In practical terms, Apple recycles. In practical terms, IKEA recycles. And recycling is an important component to achieving a circular economy. Okay, this approach contrasts sharply, guys, with the traditional linear economic model, which follows a take, make, use, dispose pattern. What does that mean? You buy it, you use it, you put it in the rubbish. Whereby in a circular economy, you buy it, you use it, you return it or deposit it in a box where people can take spare parts out of it and sell it, or fix it and sell it. So it's really important to understand that. All right, let's go on. Can everybody see my diagram? Right. Let's look at the diagram. I'm sure Miss Anu will be interested in this. Maybe one day she'll be discussing it with her son about protecting the environment when he comes home from school. And he says, Mummy, my teacher told us about environmental protection, Mummy. You have to stop using plastic bags. Mummy, stop wasting plastic and protect the environment. So when I grow up, the environment will still be safe. My 9-year-old daughter tells me that every week when she comes home from school and her science teacher has given them a big head about the environment. I'm sure you all hear that from your kids. You all hear about their school teacher telling them about how important the environment is, right? And this is one of the basic concepts of ESG. ESG is not about spreading it through the corporate world, but it's also about educating people and giving money, being philanthropists in putting money into educating people towards environmental protection and climate change. Let's talk about this. So let's start with the raw materials. For example, you grow wheat. You're a wheat grower. Okay? Raw materials are growing. The design of what you're going to do with that wheat is decided. Actual fact, let's forget wheat. Wheat is food. Let's start with a physical product like a phone. First, the factory has to source raw materials. And how do they source the raw materials? They source those based on the design of the phone. Okay? So they buy the spare parts, the raw materials, they remanufacture those to produce a phone. Okay? They remanufacture those, excuse me, just give me a minute, would you, to produce a phone. Then they distribute the phone to wholesalers. People consume, they buy the phones the phone breaks, it's repaired under warranty, or they sell it secondhand and somebody else reuses the phone. Once it becomes damaged and it doesn't work anymore, there's two choices. They can put it in the normal trash bin, or they can put it in a recyclable trash bin for electronic devices. That item will then go to a recycling center, and the residual waste from that will be separated from the parts that can be used again. Does everybody understand what I mean by this? Yes or no? Okay, so basically, ladies and gentlemen, what we're looking at here is the circular economy. It's the economy in which a product starts from raw materials, is used, it's used for some time, but then when it doesn't work anymore, it goes into a recycling bin, and that recycling bin is then recycled. The items are pulled out, recycled, and parts would come out and be used on other machines, or those devices would be refabricated, rehauled, and put back out for use rather than destroying them. It's called recycling. Okay, so why do we need to switch to a circular economy? Can anybody tell me, why is it important to have a circular economy? Who can tell me? Okay, I want to hear your voices, guys. A lot of you are very quiet today. A lot of you. Okay, anybody tell me, why do we need a circular economy? Who can tell me? Come on, put up your hands. Who can tell me? Why do you think we need to have a circular economy? Why should we be using environmental controls? Why should we recycle parts? Can anybody tell me? Put your hand up. Why? What's your understanding? Why is it important? Okay, Rosalie, go ahead, Rosalie. Can you unmute your microphone, Rosalie? Are you there, Rosalie? Can you unmute your microphone? Hi, tell me. Give me an example of a circular economy and recycling.
Like a plastic?
Plastic? What? We recycle plastic and make new items. Very good. That's a circular economy. Very good, Rosalie. Do you have another one for me? Hold on, one at a time, please. Hello, Rosalie. Go ahead. Do you have one more?
Like paper?
Yeah, paper. Yeah, paper can be recycled, and it's torn down and they make new paper with it. Very good. Newspapers are printed on recycled paper. Very good. Anyone else? Can anybody else give me an example? Go ahead. Anybody else?
Anybody else?
Please talk to me only. Talk to me only. Don't talk to anybody else. Talk to me. Okay, please talk to me. You should not be talking amongst each other. Okay, who else can put their hand up and share with me? Anybody else? Okay, come on. What's another example of recycling? Okay, Jenny Rose, can you give me an example of recycling? Jenny Rose? Hi, Jenny. Give me an example of recycling. Go ahead, Jenny.
Because the other one say already about the plastic one.
Plastic,
And then all the
paper, what
paper,
else?
yeah. Or the paper, and then I think some of the soil or some of the grains.
Well, there is soil recycling where they
Ye-
take soil and use it again, yes. But give me
Yes.
something more that involves consumers every day. Can you give me something else? Empty bottles, yes.
Because
Empty cans?
at home I use the 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 washing machine water to water the plants.
Well, okay.
Because
When you talk about your washing machine water, you can use it to.
after
Hold on, be
after
careful there, because if you put bleach in your washing machine to bleach your white clothes, and then you use that water to water your
no, I'm
plants
not
will die
using the
with the
bleach.
bleach. So be careful where you recycle washing machine water. Please
Yes,
don't give it to your dog or cat to drink with bleach in it, all right? Be very
yes, sir.
careful, okay? All right, very good example though.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. All right, what else? Where else can we recycle? Can anybody else? Yeah, go ahead. Yes,
Sir, can I
Eugenia,
unmute
go
my
ahead. Hold
microphone
on.
because my grandma is
It's okay. Open your microphone. That's okay. Open your microphone. How old is your grandma, Jenny? Unmute yourself, Jenny. You're muted. Unmute.
she's 95 years old.
Can you say hello to your grandma and tell her
Ma'am,
Mr. Wally said, God bless you, grandma?
because she's Teochew, she speaks Teochew only. She don't
All right.
understand English.
She's welcome. She's
Okay,
welcome. Thank
okay.
you.
Thank
Excellent.
you.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, recycling is a critical necessity. Now, somebody else wants to talk to me. Yes, Eugenia, go ahead. Open your microphone, gorgeous.
Oh, sorry. Did I
Hello.
Hello, sir. Did you hear me?
Yeah, give me an example
Okay.
of recycling. Go
It's
ahead.
about clothing recycle, clothing
Yeah, okay.
and aluminum
Yes, okay.
and also glass.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Excellent. Thank you so much. We
We
can
used to do that
actually
every day.
recycle food
Yeah.
waste, right? You can
Yeah.
separate your
Separate,
vegetable
yes.
peels, your potato peels separate,
Yes.
and they can be recycled and become compost, right? For your
Yes.
plants in your garden. But please don't use washing machine water
No,
with
no.
chemicals to water your plants. You
I
don't
don't.
recycle that way, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Let's go to Aliu. Hi, Aliu. Would you like to say something? Aliu, go ahead. Aliu? No? Okay. Aliu is not there. Okay, all right. Hi, Angelo. Would you like to give some input?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Angelo. What would you like to share?
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
All right, thank you so much. Regarding the cycle economy that you're talking about, we have rental and subscription model that
Yes.
company is using, especially my Google. So, and every time I have to buy a space from Google, so and have to renew it from time to time. This also can be considered as recycling economy.
Very good. Excellent example. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Okay, so we all understand what recycling means. Thank you for everybody who sent me a message at work. That has been noted, and your attendance will be treated as okay, and you will still receive your certificate because you have sent me the message. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Okay, let me share my screen again, please. Just one moment. Okay, can you see my screen, everyone? Okay, guys, let me go on. Just one moment, please. Okay, so protecting the environment is a really critical tool. In actual fact, it's a fundamental process that we need to go through because you want, we want to live, our children want to live, and their children want to live. So protecting the environment through a circular economy is critical. By reusing and recycling products, the rate at which natural resources are extracted will be reduced and slowed down, helping to limit and control the degradation of the habitat or degradation of the soil, as one of our students just mentioned. It will help stop soil and land degradation so our next generation can use those farms to grow raw materials. It will help habitat destruction and biodiversity loss. What do we mean by biodiversity? It's the interaction between different biological factors that are needed for the world to function. Photosynthesis, plants, photosynthesis. Okay, all of this is part of biodiversity. It's part of protecting the environment, and it has effects on the environment. The smoke that comes from a fire, the smoke that comes out of an aeroplane when it's flying, out of its exhausts, all of that actually leaves a track in our ecosystem. That's why now aircraft are switching to environmentally friendly fuel, or they're trying to anyway. All right, so the circular economy lowers the greenhouse gas emission effect, okay? Because as you know, greenhouse gas emissions damage the environment. So keeping materials in use for longer and reducing waste lessens the need for energy-intensive extraction and production processes, which are major sources of emissions. Look at factories that make rubber tires, emissions of smoke. Look at factories that burn waste, emission of smoke and chemical. All of these are leading to greenhouse gas emissions. All right, let's look at another major factor in protecting the environment: packaging, paper bags. How many of you pay for paper bags at the supermarket? Put your hand up. Does anybody pay for plastic bags? Yes? Yes? Anu, do you have to pay for a bag at the supermarket, Anu? You take your own, do you? You're a good girl, all right. Well, let me tell you about me. Every time my wife says go to the supermarket, she gives me her pink cartoon permanent bag. She says, Hans, save 10 cents and use my shopping bag. And I say, thank you very much. I'd rather pay 10 cents to carry your weird pink bag. But my wife is like Anu. She goes to the supermarket with her own bag and packs her own bag. And sometimes she takes 3 of her own bags. So I have a policy. I never go to the supermarket with my wife. Okay, I say get it delivered or you carry it yourself, because you will not let me pay for plastic bags. All right. Now, I know I'm wrong, but protecting the environment is good, but at least get me a bag that's not pink in color. You know what I mean, guys? Come on. You expect me to carry a pink shopping bag? Give me a break, will you? All right. So remember, packaging waste represents another major environmental challenge. On average, a European generates around 190 kilograms of packaging waste a year. I'm not European, by the way. I'm Australian, all right? Okay? European are people from Europe. Okay? Addressing issues that require waste reduction is really, really important. And that's why the world has gone towards redesigning the way we package materials. Does everybody understand this? Yes or no? That's why plastic containers are recycled. That's why newspapers are recycled. It's highly possible that the newspaper you read today is printed on recycled newspaper that has been recycled 4 or 5 times from 4 or 5 different newspapers. Okay, here we go. Okay, so next one is reducing raw material dependence. Can you see my slide, Anu? Great, thank you, guys. So why do we need to reduce our dependence on raw materials? Because if we're able to recycle, we don't need to degrade land and soil by having to grow more raw materials more regularly. All right, land degradation is a result of continuous replanting, right? Soil degradation is also a result of overuse. So if we can minimize the need to regrow raw materials by recycling, that will benefit the cycle of the circular economy. Remember, as our global population around the world goes up, there is more demand for more raw materials. So being able to support that by recycling is also very important. Let's talk about Europe, because Europe is one of the biggest culprits in the environmental recycling war. In 2022, each European used an average of 14.9 tons of raw materials, highlighting the scale of resource use. By 2023, the total trade in raw materials between the EU and the rest of the world reached 165 billion euros. That is a lot. Now you know why it's become important. Since imports exceeded exports, the EU recorded a trade deficit of more than 29 billion euros in this area, because they were importing more but not exporting as much, so they had a deficit. By implementing recycling and focusing on the circular economy, this has helped reduce the risks linked to raw material supply. It has helped price volatility in keeping prices in control. It has helped reduce shortages and dependence on foreign suppliers for Europe and other countries alike. By practicing ESG, environmental and social governance, we are able to create jobs and save consumer money. Would we agree with that? If we have to grow more materials and those materials come into higher demand, then the price of the goods you're going to buy is going to be more expensive. So by having a circular economy and recycling and trying to reduce the need to regrow raw materials so often in larger quantities, we're basically creating an opportunity to maintain the costs for the consumer without having the consumer having to pay more for their end product. Okay, so by improving resource efficiency, reducing waste through circular economy practices, we can enhance our competitiveness and be able to put more goods forward to our customers at more competitive prices. We encourage innovation in the products we put out. We support long-term economic growth for our company or for the brand. And by doing that, we're also supporting our country's economic growth. In the EU, in the European Union alone, the transition to what we call a circular economy is expected to create up to 700,000 new jobs by the year 2030 in the areas such as recycling, repairing, remanufacturing, and sustainable design. All of these are important to protect the environment and protect society. Does everybody understand what I mean by that? Yes or no? Just one moment, please. Does everybody understand what I've said so far, guys? Guillermo, do you understand what I've said? Guillermo? Okay, all right. What about you, Irene? Do you understand what I've explained? Thank you, everyone. Please keep your cameras on, please. Thank you. Abby, do you have a question for me, Abby? Hi, Abby. Would you like to ask a question? Okay. Hi, Abby. Would you like to ask me a question? Go ahead. Unmute your microphone. Hi, Abby. How are you finding today's subject? Do you understand what we mean by environmental and social protection?
Yeah, actually, that was earlier when you asked about the example of the ways, I mean, about the recycling ideas. That was earlier.
Fantastic, wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Excellent. You're welcome. Okay, what about you, Miriam? Do you have anything you want to add? Go ahead, Miriam. Unmute your microphone. Go ahead, Miriam. Do you want to add anything? Unmute your microphone, Miriam. Hi. Hi, tell me, what have you learnt so far, Miriam?
Another example, textile waste turn into rugs.
Okay. All right, good. Excellent. Good on you. All right. Excellent. Let's go on. Who else would like to share? Yes, go ahead. Guillermo, what would you like to add? Guillermo, go ahead.
How I can understand other recyclable materials like, for example, the tires.
Yes.
Also cycle it
Very
to become not to become hazard to the environment, and then becomes environmental threat.
Very good. Excellent. Very good example. Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, great. Excellent. Okay, so everybody understands what we mean by it. Let's go on. So creating jobs and saving consumers increase in prices is critical. And this is one of the major reasons why ESG is needed. Okay, let's keep going. Just one moment, please. Okay, so let's keep going. What is the EU doing to become a better circular economy? The EU, the European Union, wants to build a circular and climate neutral economy by 2050. To achieve that, the EU has introduced in recent years many new measures and taxes to reduce waste and make products more sustainable. Okay, new or updated legislation or laws protecting eco-design, packaging, greenwashing, and the right to repair waste management, repair waste, the right to repair waste management and other key areas are now all major issues and major topics in the European Union. And the European Union is now very, very keen on introducing laws to make sure that all of this happens by 2050. Let's look at component one of the circular economy. Component one is to extend product life. Component two is to reduce refuse and recycle materials, introducing recycling policies. Component number three is a circular business model, which allows the product to go out, be used, and at the end can be recycled and used again. Handphones, cars. Component number four, environmental considerations. By doing all this, we're protecting the environment. Let's look at this example here. This is a model from Apple. Okay, let's talk about Apple. Let's start at the very beginning. So what happens at Apple is very simple. Let's take it from the very beginning of the model. Okay, so if we look at the top, you see production of primary raw materials, manufacturing of components and sub-assemblies, batteries and tactical screens, etc., manufacturing of the final product. It goes into the market and is used. Reverse logistics is the product might come back to Apple because it's a trade-in or because it's returned because it had a warranty problem. So what happens when it comes back into Apple, when it's returned to Apple through reverse logistics? Okay, what happens? It goes all the way up to the product disassembly line, where the people at Apple take the returned item back, they refurbish it and sell it as a refurbished phone. This is part of the recycling material process, which is done in the product disassembly department that gets the reverse logistics of units that are returned. All right, so the materials that come back and are taken out of phones that are rebuilt, etc., anything that is not used to rebuild goes into recycled parts to be used in phones that are going to be built. All right, so all of this is a very, very, very important thing for Apple, because Apple welcomes trade-ins all over the world in any of the Apple shops. So most Apple consumers, every time they upgrade, they trade in their old device. Now, if all those old devices ended up in the tips or in the rubbish bin, that would be basically crazy, because most of these devices can be recycled. Let's look at again this, talking from the food chain, guys. Let's talk from a food chain. Okay, let's talk about an orchard. Picking from the orchard requires in order for you to pick the fruit from the orchard, you need to fertilize the soil, right? So let's start at the bottom. Rotten apples, right? High value added products. They become composite, okay, biodegradable composite, which become fertilizers, which are used to fertilize other fruits and vegetables in an orchard. Then we have new apples grown or fertilized, right? So if we go to the other side, the customer buys the apples, okay, the pips or the stones, correct, are planted to grow these. The apples go to packaging, and then they're sold to the end consumer. All right, so how are they transported from the grower to the supermarket? We need transportation, right? So no matter which part you look at, whether it's food or whether it's electronics, let's look at the screen. Can everybody see my diagram now? Can everybody see my diagram? Okay, so let's go through the diagram now so everybody can see it. So as you can see, we look at the bottom of the diagram, okay? We have rotten apples, rotten apples. The rotten apples can actually become biodegradable fertilizers and high value added to the product, because when we grow apples, we need a fertilizer. We need a biodegradable composite, which becomes a fertilizer, which will help us grow apples, which are then picked and sold to the consumer. Okay, so if we go to the rotten apples and the pips from the rotten apples, okay, the apple is turned into fertilizer, composite. But when we look at the fresh apple growing, the fresh apples growing, okay, they are growing. The apples go to the supermarket. The supermarket then sells them. People buy them and take them home and eat them. All right, so can you imagine if the supermarket didn't sell its apples and they went rotten, and they just threw them out in the waste bin, then we couldn't recycle those into composite to help us grow more apples. So you will find most supermarket chains around the world actually have very strict policies on recycling. So any fruit or veggies that are not sold they put in a recycling bin and it's collected by someone, recycled, and they handle it. But the supermarket definitely doesn't just throw it in the trash bin. Most restaurants these days practice recycling because recycling is important for their image in the market they're in. Does everybody understand this? Yes or no? Okay, great. Do you understand what I'm saying, Aliu? Yes or no? Okay. All right, let's go on, guys. Okay, so what is green innovation and responsible supply chain? It's very simple. Green innovation and responsible supply chains are critical drivers of long-term business value and competitiveness. We need these to be competitive in the market. Can I check? Can you see my screen, Anu? Okay, great. So it's really important. And remember, when we talk about value creation, green innovation and responsible supply chains to how organizations generate economic growth, it's really important because if you can employ more people in your economy will have a job and get salaries. They'll have bigger spending power, which will mean more money spent in that economy. All right. So green innovation and responsible supply chains are critical drivers of long-term business value and competitiveness. Not only are they long-term financial drivers for companies, but also for the country's economy. Now, why are they important? Because firms that innovate sustainably and differentiate themselves through eco-friendly products, they lower their operating costs, they give themselves a very much better and stronger brand reputation, and they have customers that actually prefer them because they're an environmentally friendly product. They're an eco-friendly product. Risk management. Responsible supply chains reduce exposure to regulatory risk by following the laws in relation to environment and gas emissions, etc. And they actually basically minimize disruptions. They minimize having to pay environmental penalties, and they minimize any reputational damage to their brand by making sure they have correct risk management in place. Cost efficiency, well, of course, energy efficiency, waste reduction, resource optimization, lower production and logistics costs over time. They are a direct output of innovation and responsible supply by practicing environmental and social governance. Market and investor appeal. Of course, in today's consumer market, consumerism today is very much focused on a brand that's environmentally friendly. Regulatory compliance. Well, in most countries now, environmental standards are a government requirement, and that's why companies need to actually meet regulatory requirements or regulatory compliance requirements in order to avoid being fined or being closed by the government in their country. All right, so let's look at the green innovation. Key characteristics of green innovation include eco-efficient design, life cycle thinking, use of green technologies, value-driven innovation, and continuous improvement. So what is eco-efficient design? Well, in simple terms, guys, it's a product and processes designed to minimize the use of energy, minimize emission and waste during the production design. So if it only takes these 5 elements to become a green known for innovation. What do we mean by green? It means you're environmentally friendly. So if a company can actually practice these 5 points and maintain an eco-friendly reputation or a green reputation, that is going to help their brand and help them increase sales and customer loyalty. Because remember, we've discussed before that retaining a customer is cheaper, retaining a customer is cheaper than actually going out to actually get a new customer. New customer acquisition is more expensive than existing customer retention. Okay, what is responsible supply chains? Well, they are ethical sourcing, buying from ethical places. For example, you don't buy coffee bean from illegal growers in Zambia where they use slave labor. Okay, you buy it from what we call ethical sourcing. You buy it through farmers that follow ethical processes and respect the environment when they're growing their product. You need supplier transparency using audits and digital tracking to ensure that the products or raw materials you're buying meet environmental and social governance requirements. Collaboration with partners to improve sustainability standards and performance on what raw materials they supply you, the way they supply them, etc. Resilience and flexibility, and of course, most importantly, compliance with standards and alignment with global standards such as ISO 14001, which is very, very, very stringent on ESG frameworks and fair trade principles. Okay, now ISO, International Standard Operating Procedures, ISO 14001, talks about basically alignment with environmental and social standards required internationally. So what are ESG metrics and how do you measure whether your company meets the ESG standard? Well, it's in simple terms. Your reputation as a company or brand will be strongly affected by your ability to maintain an ESG friendly, environmentally friendly reputation and brand, because that will have a major impact on how successful your brand remains. So why do we need environmental, social governance metrics? Well, basically, we need these to ensure that your company or any business is aligned with your country's regulatory requirements, to ensure that you comply with government policies and international standards. Because if you don't, that will give your brand issues, and that means that your brand may lose its standing in certain parts of the world. If you have sound governance, that will help because it will give investors confidence. It will encourage stakeholders to work with your business. It will show clear visibility into how seriously you believe your responsibility as a brand is towards the environment and the people around it in that environment who buy your products. Remember, environmental and social standards set the benchmark. And once you've set that benchmark, you need to maintain it and promote it for people to follow the green brand or the brand that has a green reputation. Seeing most new generation consumerism is very, very environmentally friendly. So why are they important? Well, they're important to track performance against the goals for any company to know how you're doing. And most importantly, they are tangible data that can help you report to your shareholders, to your investors, and to the public on your adherence to sustainability and your commitment. Okay, so if we look at this in some simple terms, navigating environmental standards, frameworks, and regulations, a guide for business. First, you must understand the standards, you must know the frameworks, you must understand the regulations, and the people on your team should be able to answer questions to demonstrate their understandings. Okay, they are different. So let me talk about the standards. The standards are the standards set by the government or the law in the country you live in. The frameworks are the guidelines the government sets in order for you to be able to meet their standards. The regulations are the laws or the legislation which make it a requirement for you to obey. And the questionnaires are the questionnaires you would use as a business to make sure that you are basically following the framework. It's like a checklist. So the standards are a set of detailed criterion that define specific performance indicators with a strong emphasis on being transparent. Okay, well-known examples include Global Reporting Initiative and Sustainability Accounting Standards. These are two international standards that the world follows as far as an environmentally friendly environment. Okay, so frameworks are basically a broader perspective, offering principles, context, and guidance rather than the metrics. And these frameworks are usually set out by the standards, the people who set the standards, or by the legislators in your country. Okay, so it's really important that you understand standards. You have to understand the four terms: standards, frameworks, regulations, and questionnaires. All right, so let's go on. Regulations are those set criteria which are set by government or the regulators in your country. And well-known examples include, again, those which are also part of global reporting initiatives and part of sustainability accounting standards, which many countries have adopted. Just one moment, would you please? Okay, so regulations we've covered, okay, but let me just stress, the framework is a guide, okay, it's a guide, but the regulations are the rules or the laws in that country. Questionnaires basically are like checklists conducted by auditors or environmental auditors that companies bring in order to be able to have transparent reports on the fact that they are meeting ESG standards. Now, a lot of companies bring in an environmental auditor once every year, and they make sure that this audit report meets the regulations, the regulatory requirements, and also it also meets the standards set down by the Global Reporting Initiative, GRI, and the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board, SASB. All right, so now that we know about all these things, there is two ways in which we can actually measure our ESG or environmental and social governance. We can measure it through quantitative metrics, and these mean numbers, data, statistics. Okay, that's how we would measure it. Quantitative is the first way of measuring it. Greenhouse gas effects. Okay, so you would measure that quantitatively by looking at the emissions, degree of emissions. Example, a prime example of quantitative metric is CHG emissions are categorized into scope 1, direct emissions, scope 2, and other indirect emissions, scope 3. So that would be a quantitative metric. Taking these emissions helps companies, or tracking these emissions, knowing what level of emissions you have, it helps the company understand their carbon footprint and set reduction targets and show the world that they are working towards meeting global protocols and they want to be in the right level of emissions with their other competitors in their industry. Okay, employee turnover is a quantitative metric. Energy consumption is a quantitative metric. Now let's go to qualitative metrics. What are qualitative metrics? Okay, can I just check? Can you see my screen, Eugenia? Thank you. All right, so qualitative metrics, guys, are basically focused on descriptive, not numerical, data that reflect a company's culture, values, and priorities. Not numbers, but descriptive feedback. While these metrics are more subjective and harder to measure than quantitative indicators, qualitative metrics provide critical context for understanding how the organization approaches its environmental, social, governance responsibilities, and it actually tells you what the customers have fed back in words. The other one is employee satisfaction surveys, when you talk to employees and they give you feedback. All right, so if we talk about quantitative, numerical versus qualitative, descriptive metrics, it's really important that we understand the difference, okay? One is numbers, one is words. Okay, so we look just now on employee satisfaction. Okay, the second qualitative metric would be community engagement, the feedback you get from the community in the country or in the village or in the city where you sell your products or services. Number 3, board diversity and governance. And this means, what do we mean by that? It means the way that you govern your environment and social governance processes, how you evaluate them, and what is the feedback in the evaluation. All of these comments help. So any respected metrics of how a company is doing so far as its environmental and social governance would have to include both quantitative and qualitative measures. Okay, so let me just check. What we need to understand before I go on, guys, is all of these things have an impact on society. How do they have an impact? Well, number 1, carbon emissions. Number 2, energy consumption. Number 3, water usage and waste management. Okay, so when we think about this, every time you go to the shower and stand under the shower for 30 minutes and sing, ask yourself, Am I being environmentally friendly, or can I reduce the amount of water wastage and only be under the shower for 3 minutes instead of 20 minutes singing under the shower? Okay, so when we talk about water usage and waste management, okay, and these cover things like water withdrawal, how much water you use, the quality of water when it's discharged, how water is recycled, and again, many countries follow ISO 14001 when it comes to water usage and waste management, which provides some guidelines for environmental management systems, helping companies track and manage water and waste effectively. And you'll find that ISO is not only used by companies, it's used by cities, and many countries use it as a benchmark. Okay, the other one we need to do is look at labor practices. And as I said, labor practices include the number of staff that you turn over. That means that work for you and leave, or you fire and have to replace. Health and safety incidents. Diversity in hiring and promotion. Diversity means what? Being open to hiring the right people with the right qualifications. Okay, these are basically without discriminating against gender, racial, and ethnic diversity. You can't just hire men because you don't like women. You can't say, I don't hire Arabs because they're dangerous. That would be discrimination. Okay, diversity and inclusion. Again, diversity and inclusion metrics assess how well a company fosters inclusive workplace understanding of why environmental and social issues are important. Okay, and these can be measured through company reports and demographic data regarding their employees, such as their race, color, sex, and age, and ethnicity. This will help the company make sure they have workforce diversity. Inclusion and training programs, again, you can measure that by the number of training programs and how many days each employee attends, and of course, through 360-degree or employee satisfaction surveys. The most effective one under employee satisfaction surveys would be a 360, where a consulting firm comes in and evaluates how people at the bottom feel about the top and how people at the top feel about the bottom. It's a full circle evaluation, and that is the most effective way of getting employee satisfaction measurements. Okay, corporate governance. Well, that comes back to board diversity, same as employee diversity, executive compensation, compliance with ethical standards. Now, when we talk about executive compensation, we mean that your pay, your salaries, alignment for executives with long-term performance is what we call aligned. So you can't have somebody with 20 years experience paid the salary of somebody with 1 year experience. Executive compensation, so far as managing environmental, social governance, is important, because executive compensation is the same as employee satisfaction or workforce diversity. Executive compensation will also play a role in whether your employee turnover is high or low. Compliance with ethical standards, again, is very, very important. Ethical standards today require companies to allow for whistleblowers. What do we mean by whistleblowers? If you think there's something happening in your company that's wrong, you should be able to report it to somebody in senior management without disclosing your name and without having to be scared of being fired or retribution. Okay, so let's talk about choosing the right ESG metrics. Well, it's very easy, very easy. First, assess and understand which metrics are relevant to which industry. Okay, engage with stakeholders, talk to all the departments that are involved, and make sure that the metrics will report to you so that you can make sure that your company is meeting their goals. Okay, so it's no point having metrics if the metrics don't help you achieve your corporate goals. Okay, so choosing the right ESG metrics, environmental, social, governance metrics, is fairly important. And why is it important? Because if you use the wrong metrics, at the end you will fail. So you have to choose metrics that are relevant to your industry. You have to choose metrics after you engage all the stakeholders in your organization. You have to talk to the managers and the line managers that are responsible to find out how they feel they can use the metrics. So all stakeholders have to have an input as to what metrics you collect and how you collect them. Alignment with corporate goals is absolutely critical. Everything you do should be aligned in getting the information so you make sure that your corporate goals are intact. So, what are the challenges with ESG metrics? Well, the biggest challenges is the time and cost of data collection and analyzing the data. 2 is a lack of standardization because in different countries they may collect the metrics differently. There is no international way of collecting them. Every corporate or every country does it in a different way. And disjointed sustainability strategy means that you collect your own metrics, another company connects their own metrics, but they're not all using the same metrics in the same industry. Therefore, they're disjointed. However, if all car manufacturers all around the world use the same metrics, then it would be easier for them to be aligned. And last but not least is the cost. So data collection and analysis challenges, again, many organizations struggle with data that is stored across departments, making it difficult to gather and analyze. Therefore, our data collection is critical. Lack of standardization, which I just explained. Disjointed sustainability strategy and costs, which I've just explained. Okay, how do we improve? How do we improve environmental, social, governance metrics? The best practices are very simple. Implement sustainability software, which is commonly available in today's software world, depending on your industry. 2, engage in continuous training and development. 3, regularly review and update the metrics based on the business and the industry you're in. And 4, prioritize transparency in reporting. Do not keep secrets. Okay. Okay, so basically what we've covered today is we've covered what is required. We've covered what is required in order to we've covered what is required in order to be able to implement ESG. But in real terms, what we've learned is why is environmental and social governance important? All right. I want everybody to go to the chat box now. Everyone. I want everybody to write one sentence saying, I believe ESG is important because. Everybody chat box now. Let's go. I believe ESG is important Because. Everybody go to the chat box now. Go. Come on, guys. Everybody in the chat box, please. Everybody write in the chat box, please. Chat box now. Everybody write in the chat box for me now, please. One moment, please. Everybody go to the chat box. Come on. Very good. No, I've just enabled it. Just give me a moment, please. I've just enabled it. Just hold on. Chat box is enabled. Please put your comments in the chat box. Very good. Excellent. Come on, guys. I don't want you just to tell me you believe in ESG. I want you to tell me, why is ESG important? Why is it important? Come on, why is it important? It's important to Anu because she wants her son to grow up and enjoy living in a safe world when it's his turn. Right, Anu? Why do I want ESG? So when my daughter reaches my age, the world will still be a safe place for her to live in. I don't want you to tell me you believe in it. Believing in it is not enough. I want you to tell me why you believe in it. It's important for long-term sustainability. Yes, it's important to reduce the cost of goods that the consumer wants to buy. It's important to ensure that we have enough raw materials to feed the world's growing population. Yes, absolutely. Why is it important for the corporate world? Can anybody tell me, why is ESG important? It's good because it's important to help the future new generations. Focuses on sustainability, yes, but why is it important for businesses to focus on sustainability? Who can tell me? Come on, Donabelle, can you answer that one? Hi, Donabelle. Hello, Donabelle, can you answer? Why is sustainability important to brands? Can you answer that? Because it balances profit with responsibility to the planet and society? That's a good answer. Okay, thank you. All right. Environment, social governance is to protect the environment and people. Very good. Excellent. Uh, I'm in church. Okay, all right, you're in church. Please, maybe you could go to church after class in future. I want to go and pray as well, but I'm here to teach. So even though we all go to church, maybe you could go to church after lectures if possible. I would really like for you to learn from the lecture because I want you to improve your life and get a higher salary. And I'm sure God wants the same for you. So you live above the poverty line. So may I suggest go to church in the morning or go to church after class, if possible. Okay, thank you. Sustainability in ESG ensures that businesses create basically an eco-friendly product and a product that their consumers in today's world of consumerism are keen on buying. Okay, anybody else have any feed for me? Come on, guys. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, all right. What I'd like to do now, we need to record attendance again, Anu, because we have more people who've joined us. All right, on the count of three, guys, could I ask you please to keep typing your messages in the chat, but keep your cameras on? In actual fact, could I ask you to stop typing messages just for 2 minutes? No more messages. Let me just record attendance again. Make sure your cameras are on unless you've sent me a message that you're at work. If you've sent me a message that you're at work, it's okay. Okay, please keep your cameras on. Unless you have sent me a message that you're at work, please switch your camera on. Unless I've received a message that you are at work, you will be marked absent. Thank you. All right. let's go back. Can you continue putting messages in the chat box, please? Okay, I understand, guys, but I made the rules clear. The only excuse for you to switch off your camera is you must have sent me a message to say I am at work. If you've sent me that message, it's okay. You may switch off your camera. If you switch off your camera without having sent that message, you may be marked absent and you will not receive a certificate. Thank you. Okay. Okay. All right. Great. Excellent. It's important. ESG is important to protect the environment. Very good. Very good. Very good. It's crucial to corporate world in order to maintain their reputation as a brand. Excellent. 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 Yes, Danilo, I got your message. I noted. Thank you. Enjoy work and make sure you read the material. Good on you, Danilo. Okay. All right, guys. Does everybody understand what we've learnt today? Yes or no? Put your hands up if you've understood. Okay, all right. Does anybody have any questions for Wally? Can everybody put up their yellow hands if you've enjoyed today's informative lesson? Come on, I want to see thousands of yellow hands. Let's go. Come on, guys. I only see 4, 5, 6. Come on. I need 400 hands. Let's go. I want hands everywhere. Very good, very good, very good, very good. Is there anybody here who's fasting the holy month of Ramadan? Put your hands up if you're fasting. Who's fasting? Very good. I do understand that you're fasting. So I know that in most countries you're approaching the time. So I'm going to let you go about 9 minutes early today, even though that in my country we still have 30 minutes. Yes, Josie, noted Josie Briones. Thank you. We still have about 30 minutes, but I understand your students. As students, some of you, you're already meeting that time. So tonight we're going to finish about 9 or 10 minutes early. Is everybody okay with that? Yes or no? Put your hands up if you're okay. Come on, show me your hands that you're okay. All right. Has everybody enjoyed today's Biz Talk? Okay, let me tell you, BizTalk number 146 is going to be something that you all want. We're going to talk about how to find your dream job in the business world, all right? I'm going to teach you how to find your dream job in today's business world. That will be BizTalk 146. Does everybody want to learn my secrets? Yes or no? Yes? I'm going to teach you how to secure the dream job you've always wanted and a higher salary in today's business world in the 20th century. Are you all okay with that, everyone? Yes or no? Great, excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, from me, Wally Rowder, your host, thank you for joining us for BizTalk 145. Can everybody say thank you to Miss Anu, my co-host? Everybody, come on, raise your hands. Thank you, Miss Anu. Come on, everyone, wave your hands to Anu on both screens. I want to see hundreds of hands. Thank you, Miss Anu. Okay, from everybody, from me and my counterpart, Miss Anu, we will see you at BizTalk 146. We wish you all Ramadan Mubarak if you're fasting. May it bring prosperity and good health in your part of the world. Thank you, everybody. Please tell your friends. If you have friends that are studying with us or who studied with us in the past, they should make time and improve their understanding of business today and join us for BizTalk. Whether they're a current or past student, they're welcome at BizTalk. And they keep getting certificates, which they can use every time they go for a better job or for their performance appraisal, because employers want you to keep learning. And this is one of the ways, right? Does everybody agree with that? Yes or no? And as I say every time, as me and Miss Anu say, we want all of you to repeat after us. All together, I believe in myself. Come on, everyone. I believe in myself. All together on the count of 3. I believe in myself. Very good. God bless you all. We see you soon. We love you all. Good night, everyone.